ANC's majority has slumped to 40% with over 98% of the votes declared. The Moonshot Pact, the opposition grouping led by the DA, will be meeting today to plot the way forward as the vote capturing in the national elections reaches its final stage. The group, which includes the DA as well as the IFP, the ACDP, Action SA and the Freedom Front Plus, has not garnered enough votes to form a government. And US President Joe Biden says the guilty verdict in Donald Trump's hush money trial proved that no one is above the law. Just gone 12 noon Central African time. A very good afternoon to you. It is Saturday, the time for the week in review. A very good afternoon to you. I am Sebenzile Nkambule. We're coming to you live from our studios in Auckland Park, Johannesburg. We invite you to participate in the show. Give us a ring if you will. Our studio number is 011-714-0680 or 81 or 82 during the course of the next 2 hours of the show. We continue our rolling coverage of the elections 2024. Thank you for joining us. Welcome. We start here. The Moonshot Pact, the opposition grouping led by the DA, will meet today to plot a way forward as the vote capturing reaches its final stage. The group, which includes the DA as well as the IFP, the ACDP, Action SA and the Freedom Front Plus, have not garnered enough votes to form a government. The ANC is in the lead overall but has slumped well below its majority from 1999. To form a government, the ANC has a choice to join up with the DA or to try to reach deals with a number of smaller parties. It could join up with either the Umkhonto weSizwe Party or the Economic Freedom Fighters. But both parties said before the election that they would not do so. The Umkhonto weSizwe Party says it plans to lodge an objection against the election results and that it wants a recount. The party has raised concerns over the leaderboards of the IEC going down, although the IEC has denied that the systems crashed. The MK Party also claims that Police Minister Bheki Cele was roaming around the IT server at the IEC National Results Operations Center when the screens went blank early yesterday.
Now we're receiving a lot of complaints and information from our party agents where result slips that are compiled by presiding officers are not in line with what we've been presented and recorded by our party agents. And that also directly impacts on the numbers that you are seeing behind us. So in potential or primarily we are saying now, we don't recognize these results, we object them. We are calling for immediate manual counting because this has infringed on the rights of South Africans, to decide a government of their choice. And they also did not communicate effectively the changes in the Electoral Act, particularly Section 24, wherein members of the society can only exercise their rights to vote in districts that which they would have been registered for at. And that was not effectively communicated. And that also denied them their democratic right to decide on a party and a government of their choice. And now that has led us to this situation where we have to take a stand and decide, in fact, shun this exercise and say, IEC, your integrity is gone. You are not impartial, you are not independent. In fact, you're aiding whatever it is that you were doing against the independence and the participation of parties in them deciding the government of their choice and what they want.
We'll take you live now to Midrand, to the Results Operations Center. The leader of the IFP, Velenkosini Hlabisa, has just arrived. Let's go straight there.
Of goodwill, they responded to our call as the IFP when we said people must take their protest to the ballot box and vote out the government that has failed them. We want to convey our heartfelt gratitude and thank the people of South Africa. Secondly, as the IFP, we are satisfied. We are happy with the results. The effort we put in the campaign so far yielded to our targets. Basically, the IFP wanted to see the ANC removed in KwaZulu-Natal. That has been achieved. We wanted to see the ANC pushed down below 50% in Gauteng. That has been achieved. We wanted to see the ANC at a national level pushed below 50%. That has also been achieved. So we are very happy because when the new government gets constituted, it will be a new shape that will give a new direction in our country. People of South Africa have spoken loudly, and that is what we want to appreciate as we go forward. I also want to thank the media for giving us space, platform to communicate the message of goodwill to the people of South Africa. Without you, we could not reach the millions of South Africans who made an informed decision and did not follow heart, but use their brains in order to save our country. I want to re-emphasize the fact that there is what has been said all around, that in KwaZulu-Natal, a new political party, the MK, was sweeping every political party. I'm speaking from a position of being informed and using the data that is available to all of you. The IFP went beyond the results we got in 2019 during the general elections, and we've gone beyond the results we got in 2021 local government election. So our base is solid. The new party that affected heavily the ruling party had no effect to the IFP, and I hope that matter can be put to rest now. Although we wanted to be the people in charge of the province of KwaZulu-Natal, but what satisfies us, a political party that had failed our province is no longer going to be the government of the day, and this is the call that we had made to the people of South Africa, that let us fix, let us rebuild our province, rebuild South Africa, rebuild Gauteng. I'm sure as the people of media, you will want to know what next. This evening, we will be meeting as members of the multi-party charter, because one achievement of the multi-party charter was to push the ANC below 50%. Achieved. The second goal was, after elections, we will look at the results. If we manage to form 50% plus one, we will consider the formation of a new government. We did not reach that goal if you look at all the angles. We'll be meeting this afternoon so that we look at one, say, thanks guys, we have made it, they are below 50%, and unfortunately we can't form a government. What is the way forward? We will be engaged in a conscious discussion and informed decisions. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock, I am meeting the NEC of the IFP, where we will be looking at the results, looking at the options available as to what role the IFP is going to play in rebuilding South Africa once the results have been declared officially. I want to put it on record. We are not desperate of getting into a coalition for the sake of coalition. We can only get into a coalition that will take our country forward. But the truth is, we cannot leave the country at a standstill. The people of South Africa have spoken loud and clear that they want a government which is a coalition, because no one is a winner. So now the message is clear, that get your acts together, rebuild South Africa, and the IFP will have an informed decision once we have met tomorrow as the NEC, and thereafter, in a period of 7 days, we will convene the National Council so that we convey our decision, and when they rectify the decision or the proposal we'll be making in the role that we must play in rebuilding South Africa, we will be following that direction going forward when the first sitting is convened and play our role. Lastly, the IFP is looking forward to the first sitting of the Parliament. We're looking forward to the government starting to work. We're looking forward to be a force to be reckoned with. The IFP is going to be a game changer. Clearly, we are going with bigger numbers, which many parties will be crying because they will be losing some members of parliament. Although I'm not speaking from a confirmed point of view, but from the look of the figures, we will be more than what we have been. We will be a strong voice of the people of South Africa. The 13 points plan that we pledged and communicated throughout South Africa will be our guide in every conversation, because we want to remain honest and true to the promise we made to the people of South Africa, so that when they judge us on the basis of the commitment we made. As we said, our manifesto is our commitment to the people of South Africa.
Have you received the call from Umkhonto weSizwe Party, and what is your take on those parties who are disputing the results?
And to add to that, are you happy being in the opposition benches in KwaZulu-Natal, or will you be working with the MK Party?
As I said, the IFP will make an informed decision in the best interest of the people of South Africa, whether in KwaZulu-Natal, Gauteng, or nationally. But we are not desperate to get into a coalition for the sake of coalition. We will definitely get into a coalition that will work for the people of South Africa. I think I can end there on that one. On the question of parties that are disputing the results, it is their right to do so. I listened very carefully, especially on what was said by Ace Magashule in Free State and the combination of parties in Western Cape. I don't think there should be a need for a recount, because party agents were there during the counting phase. If the problem is on what is in the result slip, is not what was captured, I think the process should start there. From what I listened, to me, it made sense. And I'm very happy. IEC really, where credit is due, it must be given. They try to play the best, to be transparent. Yes, I know there are cases which have been raised even the IFP in Northwest. We raised a matter. A recount had to be done, excuse me, because there was a swap of the results. So I'm looking forward to that. IEC knows too much is at stake. They can't lose credit. They will do all it takes to ensure that the process is fair. Where a mistake was done, a correction must be done. People of South Africa don't want any delays. They don't want even any noise. They don't want any violence or disruption. They want a government that is going to deliver on the mandate it promised them.
All right, thank you. That was the IFP leader, Mr. SABC, making his way into the results center, of course, stating that he is quite happy with the IC's work, listening to the concerns of the objections, stating that maybe the error may have been in the results slips and the capturing, but not necessarily in the counting, because the party agents were there. Of course, he's not committing to any of those coalitions. We know that we are dealing with an election where the national results show that there's no outright majority by any political party. So, of course, there's going to have to be some coalition or some agreement, but he's not committing to that, rather at this stage, stating that there is a meeting with the multi-party charter. They have achieved their goal of unseating the governing party. Then they'll be discussing further if they're going to take it beyond that issue. Then, of course, there's a big issue of KwaZulu-Natal. He took the moment to address or dispel the notion that the MK party had swept out the province, actually stating that the IFP had grown in the province, including from the local government elections, stating that they're very happy with their results and they're quote-unquote not desperate. However, we'll see in the coming days what these so-called discussions will materialize, and then of course how these objections, if material or not, will affect the 2024 national and provincial elections. That's Mr. Hlabisa, flanked with the IFP, making his way in. Of course, we continue to give you rolling coverage from the National Results Operations Center as we continue to give you those results coming from this pivotal, crucial election. Over to you, Nati.
That is Kenny Mapanga, who is coming to us live from the National Results Operations Center. We'll continue to cross to Kenny, and we are expecting, of course, CFF leader Julius Malema as well to make his way to the Rock. But talking about opposition parties who are not happy about the counting, Western Cape we go now, where parties there want the declaration of the results postponed pending an investigation into what they allege is vote rigging. Tempers flared at the Western Cape Results Operations Center last night after the DA celebrated reaching 1 million votes on the provincial scoreboard. Some political parties tried to drown out the DA's celebration, accusing the party of being a beneficiary of stolen votes. They say there are too many discrepancies and that they have lodged a complaint with the IEC. The IEC says all contesting parties have the right to raise their objections if they are not happy. For more on this, we're joined on the line now by Mariska Botha, who is joining us live from Cape Town. Mariska, a very good afternoon to you. What is the latest regarding the election results dispute in the province? We saw a lot of these parties were not happy last night. What's the latest on that score?
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but my colleague Lulama is busy working on that story right now. I don't know how far the process is because we are tasked to be out and about in the streets of Cape Town to gauge from the public how they feel about how the elections went. Lulama is certainly tracking that story, a very important one indeed, and she will give clarity on the matter a little bit later because there were some disgruntled people saying that they feel something is afoot here and something is not right. They want to lodge a complaint. But what we're hearing from the people on the streets in Cape Town is the majority of them we spoke to told us that they are happy with how elections went. One or two people told us they had difficulty getting to voting stations, but they were assisted by different political party agents to get them to where they needed to be. And we've asked and posed the question. As at this morning, the DA was standing at 54% in the province with the final results yet to be announced, of course. But at the moment, it seems like the DA will be the majority party with an overwhelming majority. And the majority of people we spoke to also said they openly said they gave their vote to the DA. Some said they put their ballots elsewhere, and others told us they simply didn't vote because they feel it's been 30 years of democracy and still they see no change. Actually, the gentleman behind us, who's a vendor here, was telling us something very interesting. He says the first time he voted for Nelson Mandela's party, and after that Thabo Mbeki, and then he said now coalition politics is on the cards, and he says you run the risk if you vote for a certain party, doesn't matter who it is, if they consider coalition, then it's not necessarily the party you elected to vote for. And he told us that he decided then he's not going to cast a ballot this year. We heard from a few other people said the same thing. They felt there's no point in voting. They see no difference. It doesn't matter where they put their votes. So certainly varying views on the ground here in Cape Town. And but the majority of the people we spoke to certainly expressed their satisfaction with the DA taking control once again of the province. I must reiterate, the final results are not out yet, pending that very pertinent issue that you were talking about. We will know later what the outcome of that will be. be my colleague Lulama is on that story and tracking it as it is unfolding. But here in Athlone, for the moment, it's a peaceful morning. Most people are saying they're satisfied and happy that they could cast their ballot. It was an important one. And certainly for people here, life carries on as usual, as they also wait with anticipation to see what the final declaration of the results will be in the province, but also national. That's a whole different picture, different story. Not many people wanted to elaborate on that, on how they feel about that. But certainly here in the Western Cape, people have accepted that the DA will be the incumbent party, will rule with a majority. Of course, as I said, pending the final results to be made public still. And then, of course, the issue that you were speaking about, those parties that are very unhappy about what they say are irregularities.
Yes. We'll continue to watch it closely, Mariska, there. And at this point, at least, the DA is still rather comfortable at around 53%. But ahead of the polls, of course, the parties such as the Patriotic Alliance is all expected to have a solid showing in that province. They're tracking at about 7.4% currently. The FF Plus as well did certainly try and garner as much of that vote as possible, sitting just over 1.7% as well. The Good Party as well, we saw when they came in initially, when that party was established, a decent showing as well, but just under 1% currently as well. What views are you hearing on the ground? And I suppose just reflecting also on the effort and the work that these parties actually put in leading up to the polls, many of whom, of course, will be very disappointed. But perhaps Gaten McKenzie's Patriotic Alliance would probably be the happier of the opposition parties in the Western Cape, given not only they're showing in the Western Cape, but also I think if we look nationally as well, a solid showing from that front.
You are absolutely correct. Yes, Gaten McKenzie's party did very well, given that that's the national election they got tested. And we heard yesterday from one of their spokesmen speaking to us about how they're saying they're elated with the results, because they said they went out on the campaign trail, not telling people not to vote for certain other parties because of A, B, and C. No, rather they said they went to people with solutions to real problems, and that's why they garnered so many votes, according to the spokesman that spoke yesterday, Chisholm Steenberg of the Patriotic Alliance. Yes, they are certainly very, very happy with their performance, and they say they mean business, and they say they mean to be an opposition within the province that the DA must watch out for. They'll hold them accountable, and they say they are a party for everyone. They call themselves a colourful party, and they're here for all of the people of the Western Cape, and they are certainly very, very happy with their showing. As you said, other parties disappointed. We also spoke to the ANC yesterday, who told us that they will have to take stock after the elections now here in the province, and go to the analysis, go to voting district by voting district. They also told us that the usual strongholds in the rural areas where they expected to get numbers of votes, they didn't. And they told us by mouth of Khalid Said that they will have to sit down and have a sobering discussion and look at what went wrong and how they will proceed from there. But they say that will, of course, come after the final results are made public. But you are 100% correct. The Patriotic Alliance is very happy. The ANC is disappointed, saying that it's not the showing they expected. So, yeah, there will be a lot of thinking to be done for certainly many parties that went out to try to make it into the top positions within the province.
Mariska Botha live to us from Athlone in the Western Cape. Thank you for your time. We continue covering the results right here on SABC News Channel 404. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. The dust is settling on a historic election season in the country, and the biggest winners and losers are emerging. While the ANC has suffered significant losses, one party that has surprised many is the MK Party, gaining considerable ground in a few provinces. But what do these results mean for the future of South African politics? Joining us now as we analyse the winners and losers of this election so far and what it means for the country's political landscape, we're joined by political analyst Dr. Imran Bacchus to break down the numbers and share his views on what's next for South Africa. Very good afternoon, Dr. Bacchus. Thank you for your time with us today. How shocked or bewildered are you by the results so far?
I think largely not surprised at all, right? So I think when it comes to the ANC and the dramatic decline we've seen, I would say more or less expected. Of course, many of us would have thought the ANC would get more than the early 40s, maybe closer to the mid 40s. But, the decline was expected.
Dr. Bakkes, I apologize. I have to interject there. We have to go to the Western Cape because outside the Provincial Results Operations Centre, they will understand that there is a protest. Our reporter, Lulama, is there. Lulama, we'll cross to you. What is the latest there? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sebenzile and the viewers at home. You're coming to us live outside the Western Cape Results Operations Centre. The Africa Restoration Alliance is protesting outside the venue. It started yesterday, last night to be precise, when some of the political parties that participated, that contested this year's election here in the Western Cape, accused the IEC of vote rigging. They are unhappy with what they are seeing on the scoreboard, although it's not yet complete, but they are so unhappy. They are dissatisfied with how the IEC has conducted itself in this year's election, and they want a recount. Last night they were saying that they don't want only recount of the Western Cape votes, but nationally. But to clear the matter and talk to us more about it, I'm joined by some of the representatives of Africa Restoration Alliance. Ma'am Charmaine, good morning and good afternoon and welcome to the SABC.
Hi, good afternoon to you.
This protest, tell us, what is it about?
This is about what is happening with the IEC. We are so angry and disappointed in the way the whole election went. I mean, from day one with the voting, at the voting stations already, we had incidents where they actually wanted to remove our party agents because our party agents they're not illiterate, they are educated, we've given them intense training to know what to look for. And when they challenged the presiding officers about it, some of them even had to teach them what to do, which means a lot of these presiding officers and the staff were not trained what to do. We know what to do. I think we are more literate than what they are. So if you point things out to them, they get upset with you, then they want to remove you out of their voting stations. The whole evening while the counting went on, we were actually told that our people are disruptive. And they were not disruptive. They were just pointing them on what is right and what is wrong. So it all started there where they even said they will have our people locked up by the police. They send the police out to different voting stations. Besides that, our results that came up, it's impossible. I'm part of a church. Dr. Jerome has a membership of over 20,000 members. Besides that, if you look at the scoreboard, and this is people that support him. They trust him with their souls. They will trust him with the vote. Besides the fact that we know our membership is over 20,000. We're in all different provinces. 9 provinces. You want to tell me we couldn't get votes in different provinces? And these are people... Man, I'm just so angry.
So what do you think actually happened with your votes? If you're saying that you are a membership of over 20,000 and that's not reflecting on the scoreboard, what do you think happened?
They stole our votes. That is no secret. We are busy with our attorneys currently as we're speaking. We had party agents in each voting station just for this. We had our pictures. We had every hour. We actually got our results. And the end result that we received and what IEC has put on the board, it doesn't even make sense. And there already we saw something is definitely not right.
You saying they stole your votes. Who are you referring to when you say they stole your votes?
I might be locked up if I might say who, but we know that, man, I've been here when the first tally came up. And when I looked at the results, there was no results and boom, there you see ANC, you see EFF, you see MK. And I don't say they stole our votes. DA is there as well. These are parties that is in collision with each other. And there's parties that has this multi-charter political party groups. the reason why I'm saying that is with the counting, and we have proof of that bags, black bags of voters' ballot papers came out. We have pictures of it. It is all, but the attorneys is busy with that. So we already know that is proof enough. I have one person that spoke to me while he was counting, and he said they showed the votes, and towards the end there was a big batch of ballot papers that was just shoved under DA, and he asked what is happening, and they showed him the ballot papers, and it was all different political parties' ballot papers, and they said there's a mistake that they made.
So with this protest, ma'am, what are you hoping to achieve? What do you want? What are you hoping to get out of this protest?
We want not a recount, we want a revote. We want a revote, and we want IEC to be removed completely, because these people are not independent. They are working with those people that is at the voting stations. Unfortunately, if we want a revote, and we want an independent company to be brought in and do this revote.
Okay, ma'am, you said when one of your party members said that when you contested the previous local government elections, you did very well. It can't be that now you are dropping. But don't you realize that sometimes it's a trend that when a new political party is starting, is new, comes up, it receives many votes compared to the next election that it will contest?
I don't know if I agree with that statement. I don't think I agree with that statement, because we will still find the people that who's this, until today you still hear it's a small party, who's this new party that wants to come and be visible. When I registered our party, and in 2 months' time we had 2 councillors, and that's not because of excitement outside in the nation that, let us vote for these 2 people. It is people that trusted these 2 councillors in, as people with integrity, as people that the community trusts wholeheartedly. They are pastors, they're community workers, and it's not because of excitement that they were voted in. It is because of the trust and the relationship that they've built with the people.
Thank you very much for your time. That was the Africa Restoration Alliance member here outside the Western Cape Results Operation Center, where they are protesting, disputing the results that is on the scoreboard inside the center, saying that it's not a true reflection of their party members, saying that with membership, church membership of more than 20,000, it can be that those members did not vote for ARA but voted for someone else. With that, back to you at the studio.
SABC News reporter there, Lulama Macha, outside the Western Cape Results Operations Center, speaking there to some disgruntled political parties. They're saying they not only want a recount, they want a revote. We'll continue watching that story closely. We go to KZN now, where vote capturing is yet to be completed there in these 7th general elections. The party at the top of the provincial leaderboard is the Umkhonto weSizwe Party, followed by the IFP and then the ANC in 3rd place. The auditing and declaration of the provincial results are expected to be completed today. For more, we join our reporter Jade Paulser on the ground. Jade, a very good afternoon to you. Do we have a sense of when we can expect an announcement of the results from KZN?
Well, as the entire country is all locked onto KwaZulu-Natal, KZN has 99.6% of the results completed. If we're looking at the scoreboard, with MK 45.35%, IEP trailing just behind them there with 18.4% of the votes, and the ANC coming in 3rd in the province with 16.97%. So it's still early days for the province. However, we are expecting that this will be concluded by late this afternoon or evening. But looking at the province as a whole, we do know that the Umkhonto weSizwe Party is doing relatively well in the Harigala district of Ladysmith. We're also seeing them doing very well in Umsunduzi, in Pietermaritzburg, eThekwini region as well, in places such as Umlazi as well as KwaMashu, where we find ourselves in, and then in KwaXemba. And we know that that was an ANC stronghold since 1994, and 6 16 wards have been taken there by the MK party. So they've really swept through KwaXimba and really dominated there. And we saw the former president, Jacob Zuma, really, canvassing and calling out the members of the community to vote for the MK, really campaigning relentlessly in the area. But here in KwaMashu, where the MK is also dominating, several people have mixed reactions, and I'm actually joined by some here at KwaMashu Taxi Rank. Sir, just your views on the MK party and how they're faring in KwaZulu-Natal.
Firstly, ngingathanda ukubonga ave sijabulile ukuthi MK ithathile KwaZulu-Natal since besesikhathele ANC ingayigcina idingo zabantu.
Was this a shock at all to you that they're doing so well?
No, it wasn't, because besingasekho happy nge-ANC.
Well, just a gentleman saying that he wasn't really happy with the ANC and he's not surprised that the party has really done so well. I'm just going to be joined here by Mkonto Wesizwe, a supporter really draped in regalia here. I'm sure you're very happy with the outcomes of the voting.
Yeah, I'm so happy. I don't even know how to say that, how much I'm happy about. As you know, that we've been waiting for this moment to know who's going to be controlling KZN, because that you know, there's too much damage in KZN. There's a bridge, too much bridge that they've been dust, never fixed. The houses, even you can see there's a shopping center here that is fucked up. There's no way that.
So let's keep it clean, no profanity.
Okay.
Thetha sinesizulu.
Okay. And futhi manthanda ubhekisisa nathi CMK sibaningi KwaZulu-Natal, and futhi okunye nosakulindela ukuthi ngoba sila ko4 million sivotela uMK ukuthi sifuna ukubona ukuthi lapha phezulu kuyogcina kwenzakala ngoba akekho umuntu afika avotele iMK ukuthi iphathe KwaZulu-Natal bese ivotela umuntu eANC uSirila Ramaphosa ukuthi aphathe izwe. Lokho sakulindela ukuthi kulo 4 million endapha kanjani ukuthi thina singaphezulu. Lokho nje sifuna besicazisela na kwi-ICC CKZN how come ukuthi kube nje.
Thank you very much for your views there. Let's bring in this lady here. Just your views, ma'am, on the Mkonto Wesizwe party doing relatively well here in KwaMashu. I imagine that you are a resident in this particular ward.
Yes, I am. As we go beyond for MK, I hope there is going to be changes and a lot of changes here, and also in our rank there's going to be changes, and for the youth as well. I hope there is something we're going to get. Like jobs and everything. So we are happy for MK that we're going far, and also IEC, let's hope they're going to do better. Thank you.
Thank you very much there. And I will end off here with this gentleman. So your sentiments on the Mkonto Wesizwe party doing really well and leading on the scoreboard.
Sithanda ukubonga ukuthi sikwazile kuZulu-Natal kulumele izwe ukuthi MK iphathe noma ngalona iqembu eselino 6 months kodwa alikwazile ukukhombisa ukuthi cha amandla nawo ngoba kusaphatha uZuma upetrol awu10 rand manje upetrol gijima ko25 rand makunyuka upetrol kunyuka ukudla kunyuka ezinye izinto abanye abantu akugcina bangasakwazi ukugibela ama-taxi nje basenza la ama-taxini yabo so sithanda ukubonga ukuthi hayi iqembu lele MK lenze kahle hayi umshini wamaZuma uyasebenza sibonga.
Thank you very much there. Well, there you've had sentiments on the ground here in KwaMashu. Those expressing their views, how they feel about the Mkonto Wesizwe party, saying that the ANC has been in power for 112 years. The MK party was formed 6 months ago, and they really do believe that the MK is going to bring about what they say change here in KwaZulu-Natal. And I imagine all eyes will be on the province as those results keep trickling in, and we see the Mkonto Wesizwe party really leading on the scoreboard. It's back to you in studio.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jade Paulson, live from KZN, and she is in KwaMashu. Let's go back to our discussion with our analyst, Dr. Buckers, and please do bear with us. We're taking rolling coverage as we go and getting, of course, feedback from the ground after what certainly was a historic election. You were reflecting on what, at least the trend of the results, almost done counting at least. We understand they'll be declared, of course, tomorrow, that is. But what do you believe it means for the future of South African politics?
Well, yeah, the point I was making was, yes, no surprise with the dramatic decline in support for the ANC. I think with all of the political space we have in South Africa, there was much talk that the possibilities for the DA increasing in support, and we haven't really seen that. And I think in large part that has to do with the sort of mediocrity of DA leadership. I also think it has to do with the kind of tin ear that the DA lends to questions of race, affirmation, empowerment, etc. Of course, we also haven't seen any dramatic incline in support for the EFF, but like all of us have been saying, the major game changer has certainly been MK. And I think MK has disrupted our politics in a way that was completely unanticipated, even for KZN. You know, many of us who follow KZN closely would have thought 30% was too much for MK in KZN, and of course MK has proved many of us following it completely wrong.
What does it say about some of the other political parties that were also contesting in KZN? The voters there clearly didn't trust them to do the job. You would have heard from the conversation from our reporter that she was having with the people there at the taxi rank in Guamashu that you know, circumstances are tough and they were tired of the ANC, and that's why they made the choice to vote for MK. But the IFP is there, the EFF also put themselves forward, and other parties as well. Why did the electorate not buy what those parties were selling in KZN?
Yeah, unfortunately, I was cut off from your crossing. But yeah, certainly, I think, you know, when you have a context of people being disillusioned with the political order, you know, rampant poverty, unemployment, and we've heard several times anecdotally of people talking about how tired they were. And I think that's a really important point to hone in on and to listen to. And in that context, people do look for alternatives. Those alternatives might be authoritarian populist alternatives. In South Africa, the turn to MK, it might be alternatives that play the ethnic card and descend us into ethnic politics, like Gayton Mackenzie's Patriotic Alliance, like, for example, you know, what we've seen with MK. You might even see, you know, the populism of rampant toxic xenophobia resonating with masses, because people will say we're tired, particularly at the base of the social strata. There might be a tendency to blame foreigners, largely from the African continent, for stealing our jobs. Now, you know, that kind of perspective doesn't pay enough attention to how economic policy, to how policy choices that the state has made results in people not getting jobs and people being left out of the job market. But the easier thing to do is to scapegoat others and to scapegoat minorities, while those who claim that they will change the conditions of poor people are very unlikely to do so. You know, I think there's a greater chance that parties like MK will continue to focus on plundering the public purse rather than, you know, focusing on the needs of people. You know, we've asked questions about MK and its policy, and how have people voted for MK when they don't have a solid policy paradigm. Listen, people on the ground at the base of the social strata don't read policy documents. You know, Zuma resonates. The gravitas around Zuma is what resonates, the idea of a populist figure. And I think that counts more than someone looking at an intricate, convoluted policy document or even a manifesto. I would bet that if you ask many people about the MK's manifesto, they're unlikely to tell you much about it.
The DA would have also hoped to perform much better. There, Chris Papas as well would have been their premier candidate. Currently, the DA is tracking at about 13.69% in KZN as well. What do you think of their performance? Would they be satisfied with that? They would have certainly hoped for a lot more.
No, I'd agree with you. They'd hope for a lot more. You know, one is the ANC in KZN is not, you know, there are huge differences with the ANC at the national level. You know, the point I often make is that the ANC has the full spectrum of our national politics, right? And the kind of leadership we have in the ANC in KZN has proven not to be great. It doesn't have a great track record. It doesn't have a great track track record in terms of the non-racial project, in terms of advancing social cohesion, etc. In many ways, there are cross-cutting relationships between the MK here and the various factions of the ANC. In that kind of context, of course, like you're suggesting, you would have expected parties like the DA to perform a lot better. And of course, I think Chris Pappas is, an incredible leader. He's proven himself in the Midlands to have delivered, etc. But I think the bigger picture in the DA is what I referred to previously as the kind of mediocrity of its leadership overall. Maybe not Pappas. And again, I think the sort of tin ear that the DA lends to questions of race. How do you want to advance in a country like South Africa? A country made up of largely young black people under 35. When you take policy positions that are not sensitive to the question of race, when you engage in economic policy that's oriented to the market and the West, and not focused on, state intervention. You talk about the interventions you want to make with minimum wage. You talk about reducing import tariffs. Now, all of these things don't lend themselves to helping masses of people. And of course, I don't think anyone sees the DA as a party sensitive to the question of race, affirmation, empowerment, etc.
Well, for at least more than 3 million voters that supported the DA nationally, they don't agree with that view. They perhaps, I imagine, one Helen Zille would not agree with you calling the national leadership of the DA as mediocre, given that they have been able at least to return a base that under the leadership of Musi Maimane perhaps had abandoned the DA. They've since brought it back, and of course still remain quite firmly as the second largest party or largest supported party in South Africa. They're clearly doing something right. At least more than 3 million voters agree that at least their approach or the way in which that they campaigned convinced them to then vote for them on Wednesday.
Well, she's expressed that view to me and her own kind of disappointment, if you like, with my analysis of the DA. But yeah, I'd like to disagree, right? So there's ample political space in South Africa. And if you look at the trajectory of the DA, yes, of course, it has, had a slight incline. It's lost votes during Maimani's reign, largely to the Freedom Front, I'd say.
Yeah.
And I don't think, Maimani's problem with the DA, I don't think, the question we need to ask is, does the DA have a problem? Did the DA have a problem with Maimane, or did Maimane have a DA problem? Was he working in a context that didn't lend itself to the kind of progressive ideas that he and others like him may have been bringing to the DA? Yes, they may reach 22, I don't know, whatever percent they would reach, but I would suggest that might be the ceiling. 25 might be the ceiling. Of course, many people are frustrated. Many people are disillusioned, tired of corruption. The DA has proven in parts of the Western Cape to be efficient. One cannot take that efficiency generically, right? I don't think the DA delivers in a generic way across the country. But the point I'm making ultimately is with the current policy architecture of the DA, I don't think it has the potential to expand its support dramatically more than what it is at currently. It does need to rethink its question or its approach to race, to affirmation, and how it reaches particularly the base of the social strata.
Let's talk about the ANC and the hammering, really, that they've received. If we'd listened to Nomvula Mokonyane yesterday, Gwede Mantashe as well has been at the Rock. You can see the disappointment on their faces. I'm quite shocked as well. But of course, they will now figure it out. Where do they go? What next for them? They will have to have conversations with the DA, conversations potentially with the EFF. Do they even begin chatting to the MK? What now? And perhaps more importantly, what will the implications of coalition government at a national level mean for South Africa in your view?
Sure, that's a broad question, right? So let me take it, and feel free to redirect me. So yes, you're right. I mean, what we're seeing with the ANC is what happens to liberation movements, not only in South Africa, but I think across the global South, particularly, on the African continent, liberation movements implode at this mark. And we've seen this in many parts. You may well, of course, argue that, you still have Frelimo for what, 48, 49 years. You still have ZANU, and you still have SWAPO, etc. But the questions that people might raise, and I would suggest controversially, is, are those parties winning the elections, or are they stealing the elections, right? In the case of the ANC, the oldest liberation movement on the African continent, one that comes with a great deal of integrity. And I think, a great deal of that is lost in the ANC in large part because of what generally happens to liberation movements. They start to implode. And that implosion is linked to corruption, infighting. But I also think the third factor that we tend to forget is the implosion of these liberation movements in recent times, like of the ANC, is also linked to policy choices that the ANC has made, economic policy choices. So when you're not able to deliver in the context of the bloodbath of youth unemployment or housing or sanitation or whatever, it does link back to economic policy. If you've taken neoliberal policies, these impact on the capacity of the state to deliver.
Yeah.
Because remember that post-apartheid politics is contested by the market. So I think it's not surprising that the ANC has declined in the dramatic way that it has. I know there was another part to your question. If you have time, I can go on.
I'm afraid we
yeah.
can't get to it, Dr. Pakasa, because we're unfortunately out of time for this discussion. Hope I will find some time at another point, I think, to extend it further. Let me thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, Dr. Imran Bakas, breaking down the numbers for us, sharing his insights as well about perhaps what could have gone wrong for the ANC and what next, of course, as coalition talks get underway. You're watching The Week in Review. Special elections coverage continue right here on SABC News Channel 404. Stay with us.
The Full View, where accuracy meets fearlessness in every report. We're committed to going beyond the headlines, ensuring you get the complete picture.
Majority has slumped to 40%, with over 98% of the votes declared. The Moonshot Pact, the opposition grouping led by the DA, will be meeting today to plot the way forward as the vote capturing the national elections reaches its final stage. The group, which includes the DA as well as the IFP, the ACDP, Action SA and the Freedom Front Plus, has not garnered enough votes to form a government. US President Joe Biden says the guilty verdict in Donald Trump's hush money trial proved that no one is above the law. Very good afternoon to you. This is The Week in Review. Thank you very much for joining us. We are coming to you live from Auckland Park, our studios in Johannesburg. I am Sebenzile Nkambule. Do participate in the show by giving us a ring on 011-714-0680 or 81 or 82 during the course of the show. We look forward to your views. The Umkhonto weSizwe Party says it plans to lodge an objection against the election results and that it wants a recount. The party has raised concerns over the leaderboards of the IEC going down, although the IEC has denied that these systems crashed. The MK party also claims that Police Minister Bheki Cele was roaming around the IT server at the IEC National Results Operations Center when the screens went blank early yesterday.
Now we're receiving a lot of complaints and information from our party agents where result slips that are compiled by presiding officers are not in line with what we've been presented and recorded by our party agents. And that also directly impacts on the numbers that you are seeing behind us. So in potential or primarily we are saying now, we don't recognize these results, we object them. We are calling for immediate manual counting because this has infringed on the rights of South Africans, to decide a government of their choice. And they also did not communicate effectively the changes in the Electoral Constitution, Electoral Act, particularly Section 24, wherein members of the society can only exercise their rights to vote in districts that which they would have been registered for at. And that was not effectively communicated. And that also denied them their democratic right to decide on a party and a government of their choice. And now that has led us to this situation where we have to take a stand and decide, in fact, shun this exercise and say, IEC, your integrity is gone. You are not impartial, you are not independent. In fact, you are aiding whatever it is that you were doing against the independence and the participation of parties in them deciding the government of their choice and what they want.
The Moonshot Pact, the opposition grouping led by the DA, will meet today to plot a way forward as the vote capturing reaches its final stage. The group, which includes the DA as well as the IFP, the ACDP, Action SA and the Freedom Front Plus, has not garnered enough votes to form a government. The ANC is in the lead overall but has slumped well below its majority in 99. To form a government, the ANC has a choice to join up with the DA or to try to reach deals with a number of smaller parties. It could join up with either the MK or the EFF, but both parties said before the elections that they would not do so. To the Western Cape now, opposition parties in the Western Cape want the declaration of results postponed pending an investigation into what they allege is vote rigging. Tempers flared at the Western Cape Results Operations Centre last night after the DA celebrated reaching 1 million votes on the provincial scoreboard. Some political parties tried to drown out the DA's celebration, accusing the party of being a beneficiary of stolen votes. They say there are too many discrepancies and that they have lodged a complaint with the IEC. The IEC says all contesting parties have the right to raise their objections if they are not happy. The ANC in the Northern Cape says it is willing to give up its premier position despite failing to attain an outright majority in the 2024 provincial and national elections. The party has received 49.34% of the votes, leaving the Northern Cape legislature hung. Currently, the opposition has the same seats as the governing party at 15.
The ANC in the Northern Cape maintains that their failure to secure an outright majority in the provincial legislature is a rude awakening. Despite having only 15 seats out of 30, the party says the premier position is non-negotiable.
No, the premier position, we've got a popular mandate. Nobody can dictate to us who should be the premier of the province. We gave you the figures now. Overwhelmingly, the people of the Northern Cape see the ANC as the party that should constitute government. So you won't sit with a Joburg situation here where you've got a mayor who's coming from a party with only one candidate, with only one seat in the provincial legislature. It's not going to happen like that.
The ANC says it is willing to be in talks with any interested party. Among the parties with seats in the legislature is the Economic Freedom Fighters. It received 13.25% of the votes with 4 seats in the provincial legislature.
we are not interested. We are not going to speak about coalition. We are not going to ask anyone to speak about this. Our interest is that we see President Julius Malema as the president of this country. We have started this journey in 2014. We are continuing with it.
The Patriotic Alliance contested for the first time for a seat in the provincial legislature. With 3 seats in the bag, the party says it is open to having talks with other parties.
We are open to talks, nothing specific yet. We still have to share the news with our NEC. We still need to sit down with them first, and then we will sit down with anyone in the Northern Cape. But yes, I think it's going to head that way.
The Democratic Alliance secured 7 seats but lost 1. It maintains it will not take any major decisions yet.
So we're sitting now with a hanged parliament, and we must make a decision now. What is the way forward? We will definitely hear from our federal executive in which direction we must go, and we will take it from there, and then we will make a decision.
The Freedom Front Plus has retained their 1 seat, a position they've been occupying since the 2019 elections. The party says their doors are open for any talks. Nerea Hlakotsa, SABC News, Kimberley.
Get ready for an exhilarating journey throughout the day with the power-packed lineup on SABC News. Start your morning live with Sakina and Leanne as they bring you the freshest updates. Ayanda sets the agenda with breaking news and a sneak peek into the day's headlines. Nompu and Nastasia are on point with the latest in business stories and market updates. Unati will provide a bird's-eye view of SA Today, including in-depth analysis to keep you informed. Get the full view. Join Bongiwe and Mfundo as they navigate through all the events shaping the world around you. The influential and powerful will face the nation to account to Clement Maniatela, offering you
Elections continue. You are seeing there the leader of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Julius Malema, arriving at the National Results Operations Center in Midrand at Gallagher Estate, flanked there by the SG of the EFF, as well as the Deputy President of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Floyd Shivambu there. The EFF currently in the national vote tracking at about 9.47%, with just over 1.4 million votes there. We're expecting to hear from the leader of the party any moment now as to their own reflections about their performance. They would have been a bit disappointed given that in 2019 as well, they got over that 10% mark. But if we look at where they're standing right now, in terms of seats in the National Assembly, they could lose a couple, with predictions sitting at about 39 seats if it all stays here. Of course, all to be confirmed very soon, but we're nearly there. We're nearly there. EFF leader Julius Malema arriving at Gallagher Estate at the National Results Operations Center. This, of course, was the third general election that the Economic Freedom Fighters participated in. A downward trend, if you will, given that they grew from their participation in 2014, 2019, amassing more votes. They started off with getting 25 seats in Parliament in that first election. It went up to 44. And with the introduction of the Mkhonto Wesizwe party as well, they've now dropped to being the 4th largest party in the country. We will hear from them, but you'll often hear even from the Deputy President as well, who was on the floor at the Rock as early as yesterday, saying that they are very happy that as the EFF have contributed significantly to pushing the African National Congress below 50%, meaning that government will now comprise of a number of parties, and so their own policy positions as well. They'll want to be able to introduce that and influence the direction that the country takes. They've stood quite firm on their 7 cardinal pillars. Perhaps we'll hear from him in just a second. Then let's go straight to the Rock and hear from the EFF's Malema.
We received 2,973 according to the results slip, but the IEC captured 73. So this is one of the things that we should currently combining.
So when you receive them, compile them, and then you send to the IEC?
Yes, we're sending from this side, that's how David to show we send the objections to the IEC. Most of them came after 9 o'clock after the objections were closed. So let's just say we must immediately bring them to because they were not captured at the time.
Yeah, you can object to which was not captured.
Yeah, but the NPA is saying that we want to open up that objection. Yeah, because we closed the events of it.
You can go.
Yeah, to the venue. Sure.
So this is where
members.
this is where the trauma comes.
Yeah.
Right, so this now political parties that contested elections in the Northwest are unhappy about the capturing of results in some of the voting districts in the province. Parties had until this morning to register their complaints with the Electoral Commission, and several parties allege that there were some discrepancies in various parts of the province which have called into question the fairness of the elections. More than 30 parties contested elections in the province. Most parties have raised concerns about discrepancies in the IEC's capturing of the results. For more on this, we bring in our reporter, Selwane Kakao. Selwane, a very good afternoon to you and thank you for joining us. What is the latest regarding the complaints that have been lodged by parties in the province?
Well, what we understand is that the IEC in the province is aware of those issues and is attending to some of those issues. I'm just going to also make an example. In the Klerksdorp district, I know that recounting was done because they picked up some discrepancies that led to recount having to be done. And you'd understand also that there were quite a few incidents that were brought to the attention of the IEC. One of them being people who was stabbed or somebody who was stabbed inside a voting station, a party agent, I believe. And the IEC is also aware of that matter. But also just to bring things up to speed here in the province, the performance right now of the ANC at the moment is standing at 58%. The EFF is standing at 17.5%. The DA is standing at 12.9%. And these figures, as far as the capturing of the results, stands at 98.8%. So it remains to be seen what change the remaining 1.2% of the capturing of the results will bring. But what I can also highlight is that the ANC in the province has been losing support steadily from as far back as 2004. I'm just going to take you back. Just 20 years ago, the ANC in the province was enjoying a whole 80% here in this province. And 20 years later, being 2024 currently, it is sitting at 58. Remember, I said that is as far as the capturing of the results was at 98.8%. And also to highlight that in the previous general elections, the ANC in the province had 61.8%. So if you compare it with the current 58%, and of course, that is if the situation will not change when this 1.2% of the results is captured. But the elections without people on the ground. These are the people that we have to hear from. These are the people who cast their mark and decided who should be in power. And so we're going to speak to them just to hear what are their expectations for the next government. And also, how do they feel about the entire process of voting? Let me just speak to Mama, and this is her business here in the Mahikeng CBD. Mama, let me just quickly bring you in. Mama, when we ikutlwa jwang ka dikgetho tse ka mokgwa di tsamaileng ka teng?
Gore ngwana monate o itse keng pelo ka bile monate tota.
Let me come that side so we can just speak quite easily. So when mama o hopa hore o tswa kgetha
ke tswa kgetha tlengwana.
Okay, o ska go bolela hore o kgethile eng ne, but re bolele fela hore na wena o hopa hore your vote e ka tlisa diphethoho tse feng in your life.
Tse dintle mo go masho gongwe re ka tswa mo tshotlegong e re mo gone re tlogela go sokola ra
sokola. So mo dulang teng le businesseng ya hao fela ke thuso jwang e o e hlokang?
Yo ke tla go thusoela gore business ya ka e tsholetsege shem e gole ya ka ya ba bangwe.
Mo dulang teng a go tlalosetse fela hore nang di challenges tse nang le tsona mo dulang teng ke tse jwang hae mo dulang teng
We're going to come back to you. We have to go to the National Results Operations Center where the president of the Economic Freedom Fighters is ready to speak. Let's take you there. You are seeing there the visuals from the Gallagher estate. Julius Malema has just arrived a few minutes ago, did a tour of the floor, greeted some people, greeting members of his team as well. And they are, at least right now, we see, I think all of the members of the top six are there. You've got the deputy there, Floyd Chivambu, Dlamini, the SG is there as well. He'll reflect on, I suppose, how the IEC conducted these elections and also their own performance. Nationally, they're tracking at just over 9.4% of the vote nationally.
Here to hear from the Commander-in-Chief, the President and the leadership of the EFF. I will start by introducing the leadership from my left, your right, the Treasurer General, Mautwe Ompile. On her immediate right is the National Chairperson, Veronica Mente, which is sitting on the left of the Deputy President. On the far right is the Deputy Secretary General, Bopimai Lula. Can we please fix the sound? It's not sounding nice. On the far right is the Deputy Secretary General, Bopimai Lula. On her left is the Secretary General, Marshal Dlamini. On the left of the Commander-in-Chief is the Deputy President, Floyd Chivambu. And I'm introducing now the Commander-in-Chief, Julius Malema, to take the nation through. Please, can we all listen in? The Commander-in-Chief, President.
Thank you very much. I don't like how much switch on this thing. Someone. I'm not switching on. We're off.
Sound, can you please switch on the mics on the table?
It seems there's some technical challenges at that Results Operations Center. Julius, Malema seems ready to go. Give us a sense of their own assessment of how they've performed in these elections. It looks like they're ready to go. Let's take you back there.
Thank you, the officials of the EFF, members of the media, the people of South Africa, the ground forces of the EFF, volunteers, party agents, the economic freedom fighters welcomes the outcome of the 2024 general election and believe that, to a greater extent, they represent the will of the people. We, however, note the discrepancies, unprofessional conduct, dysfunctional occurrences, and inconsistent results capturing that have been brought to our attention from different parts of South Africa. We take this opportunity to thank all EFF ground forces for a job well done. We particularly thank our youth and student mobilization committee, which sprang into action as Mulungisi Madonsela Battalion and brought the necessary energy and dynamism into our election campaign and programs. The impact of the youth was felt in the 2024 election, and we commend the battalion for a job well done. The 2024 elections were not easy for the EFF, which was fighting not only against the ruling party, but against many puppets of the white racial capitalist establishment existing as political parties and in different media platforms. The 2024 elections were not easy because whatever effort and resources dedicated in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, parts of Gauteng and Mpumalanga were undermined by the commendable and decisive rise of Mkhonto weSizwe, which performed above the EFF in KZN and Mpumalanga. We nevertheless congratulate and commend the people of South Africa for voting out the ruling party from an absolute parliamentary majority, which was abused since 1994. Over the past 30 years, the ANC had used its parliamentary majority to protect mediocrity and corruption, and to also preclude any form of alternative perspective and thoughts on how our country should be governed. In the recent past, during the EFF's participation in parliament, the ANC misused its parliamentary majority to do the following: distorted and voted against the EFF motion that sought to amend Section 25 of South Africa's Constitution, which would have made it possible to expropriate without compensation and to make the state the legitimate custodian of all of South Africa's land. Voted against the EFF motion, which sought to repeal all colonial and apartheid legislations that are still part of South Africa's legislative body and system. Voted against the EFF motion to conduct a parliamentary inquiry on the conditions and remuneration of mine workers and farm workers in South Africa. Voted against the EFF motion to introduce free quality education for the poor at institutions of our learning. Voted against a parliamentary motion to investigate the allegation of corruption in Eskom. Voted against a well-investigated and clear report on the criminal activities that took place in Palapala farm of the sitting president Cyril Ramaphosa. Voted for the illegal suspension and expulsion of EFF members of parliament from parliamentary participation, which prevented the EFF from participating in the 2024 State of the Nation address. This and many other anomalies constitute the core of how the former liberation movement misused its parliamentary majority and dismally failed to bring about thoroughgoing economic emancipation to the people of South Africa. In the past 30 years, the EFF dismally failed to use the ANC dismally failed to use the parliamentary majority to bring about legislative changes that will have improved the living conditions of our people. We therefore appropriate that for the first time since 1994, the parliamentary majority of the ANC has been broken, and that from now henceforth, Parliament will take decisions based on logic and sense and not on entitlement of being the sole dominant ruling party. Parliament will now be better positioned as a true representative of our people and not a platform to protect the political elite of the ruling class. Now that the parliamentary majority of the ANC has been broken and there is no single political party that can constitute government on its own, we as the EFF will be engaging with different political parties on how we elect leadership of parliament and constitute a government that will lead South Africa for the next 5 years. We will engage with all political parties with an appreciation that a government should be constituted within the next 14 days, meaning that some of the issues might be resolved after the base agreements have been reached. As previously mandated by the Central Command Team, CCT, after the 2021 local government elections, the EFF negotiations principles are as follows. Appreciation of the EFF 7 non-negotiable cardinal pillars for economic freedom in our lifetime, service delivery commitments with timelines particularly on land, jobs, water, electricity, flushing toilets, and care for the people with disability. Anti-racism, meaning that whatever coalition is an outcome of EFF participation must not reinforce white supremacy and Africanerdom. Anti-imperialism, meaning that whoever we partner with must not be a puppet or representation of the West imperialist agenda and interests in South Africa. Commitment to Africa, common prosperity and development. Publication of all the concrete agreements reached with coalition partners to avoid a perception that they are secret agreements. Constant and honest engagements and reports to the people on the progress made on coalitions. Additionally, our negotiation principle and demands will include the following: amendment of the Constitution to realize land expropriation without compensation in 6 months, creation of state-owned bank, nationalization of the South African Reserve Bank, cancellation of the historical student debt in 12 months, creation of a state pharmaceutical company in 12 months, passing of insourcing bill in 12 months, removal of the stem from the national anthem, opening of clinics for 24 hours, 7 days a week, provision of free sanitary towels for all who need them, provision of free water and electricity for all SASA beneficiaries. We will engage with all political parties that accept our principle and demands as legitimate, and will respect political parties that believe that our demands are irrational and must not be entertained. While we have decided to form part of the government of South Africa from 2024 onward, we are not desperate for positions and will not sacrifice principle on the altar of political convenience. The EFF final list of members of parliament and provincial legislatures will be amended to reflect the work done during elections. Those who did not play any role in the election work of the EFF will not go to parliament or provincial legislature, even if their names appear higher on the list submitted before the elections. The EFF officials who are mandated to be the final list committee will meet during the course of the week to conclude on the final list of those who are going to represent the EFF in national parliament and in different provincial legislatures. We advise all EFF members and leaders to comply with the decision of upper structures. Finally, we once again say thank you to our voters, supporters, and those who pledged financial and non-financial support to our movement. We also convey our gratitude to those who kept us in their prayers so that we all are protected during the election program. Thank you, South Africa. Rea leboha, siyabonga. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President. We'll take a round of hands. You can just show your hands and then we will acknowledge you. Babumpe, I see you are the first to raise your hand. Number 2. Then a hand that I did not see. Okay, I see you, TD. 10. That's number 4. I can't see you, my sister, sitting down. Okay, number 5. My brother, number 6. Number 7. Okay, number 7, I see you. On the far right. Okay, you're number 8. Okay, comrades, everyone who takes the question from number 1, please introduce yourself and give us the outlet in which you're coming from. Thank you very much. Let's start with number 1. Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon. I know I'm behind the cameras, my name is not seeing, but you hear the voice. This is Mzwangeni Mbete from SABC. I hear you mentioning some of the key principles that will guide your negotiation in the formation of the government or coalition. But what is it? Maybe let me ask it this way. What is it that you are willing to somehow compromise, given that in a negotiation of this nature is a give and take? And out of that principles which you have laid out quite clearly, but I mean you are aware that South Africans have given you half in terms of mandate. So what is it that you as EFF are willing to somehow compromise? Thanks.
Number 2.
Kawala Mawalewa from UFM. Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. The party is saying that whatever happens, they are not willing to work. So in particular, the ANC. Does the EFF have any parties, especially the ANC, that you say no, we will not work with this one, we will work with that one? Thank you.
Number 3. Everyone who's taking a question, please quietly move to a mic near you. On the table, there are mics. Just use the mic because we don't have a short voice. You can give them this one.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I think we can utilize this one so that. Oh, okay, cool.
I'm looking at the EFF's performance here in your election. We've watched the EFF grow. We're not necessarily watching that case now. I know people are making a case around the MK party, but as the EFF, and I know it might be too soon, reflected on the role it's played in its current position. And I mentioned that, Julius, because over the years there's been the KZN buses issue, about KZN councillors or the buses issue. There have been issues about seeing people who've been rejected supposedly by the ANC being given posts in parliament. I've had EFF members saying, but we're working to reward these people. So has the EFF also reflected on whether or not you've also played a part in what's happened on that leaderboard behind us? An issue of coalitions. You worked with Akwani.
The leadership did not hear the question. Make the question, TD. Yeah. Don't worry, we'll understand.
Thank you. When the EFF looks at its current performance, have you played a part as the EFF in where you've come out, in those numbers there? In the past, every other election we've seen you grow. That's not the case in 2024. It's not just, for me, it's not just an MK question. Does the EFF look at itself and say, maybe we also need to reflect on what we should have done better? Right? That's the first question. Secondly, on the issue of coalitions, in 2016, you were in a working relationship with the DA. You're currently in one with the ANC in Nkuruleni. Part of what the ANC keeps saying is that it wasn't a working relationship. As they look at coalitions now, they say EFF is not desirable because it's difficult to manage the EFF. Is that an unfair assessment from where you stand as you go to the table? And just very quickly, Vianney, last one. My last one, I swear. You have a list of your cardinal pillars that are part of what you go into negotiations with. Some are saying, based on your current performance, you're not going there to the table with the upper hand, that you have no right to dictate the terms you need to be more amenable to what is possible. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Comrades, let's keep our questions pointed and precise. Number 4.
Good afternoon. My name is Tembile Cele. I'm with Bloomberg News. The first question, just around the configurations that you're thinking of in terms of coalitions. I wonder if you would consider a government of national unity in which all parties that have reached an agreed upon threshold would automatically participate. Would you be in favor of that? That's the one configuration. The second one would be whether or not the agreement that you would be in favor of would affect just the national picture, or if there's scope for it to be a wholesale agreement which would then consider where you participate in local municipalities and at a provincial level as well. And then please, the last one, if possible, will you wait for parties to come to you for these coalition talks, or are there parties that you've identified that you would like to make the approach to first? And which are those parties, if that is the case? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Number 5.
Thank you very much. My name is Lunga. I'm from the Mail and Guardian. Look, I just wanted to ask CIC, during the media briefing, I think it was just before the elections, you said that your position would be in jeopardy if you didn't do well in this elections. Do you feel that there might be some issues where the EFF might want to change you from the leadership? And secondly, do you think the emergency of MK was the reason that the EFF didn't do so well in this election? And what do you think of how they did? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Number 6. Let's move swiftly. Number 6. Okay, we're skipping number 7.
Hello, Alexis Akwajiram. I'm the managing editor of Semaphore Africa. My question is, are there any preconditions with which you would deal with the ANC? And specifically, would you be prepared to work with the ANC only if Ramaphosa stepped down? I ask this because MK said they would not work with the ANC with Ramaphosa in place.
Thank you. Number 7.
Questions have been asked.
Number 8, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Mawande. I work for the Sunday World. Mr. Malima, you start off by saying you accept the results. What has changed? Because we saw a lot of complaints, especially from EFF quarters in the Western Cape, about the results, and just generally, EFF members have been among those claiming vote rigging, vote manipulation, and all sorts of fraudulent behavior that they allege against the IEC. Does the leadership feel differently, or did something change between the heightened complaining and now? And then maybe secondly, is the EFF among potential partners willing to work with the DA, which declared the EFF coming into these elections as enemy number 1? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think the first round is done. We'll give it to the leadership, Commander-in-Chief.
Thank you very much. We have just outlined our cardinal pillars and issues that we'll be demanding to the ANC. And we can't say now that this we're prepared to let go or not. Because, like you said, negotiations of this nature need you to be ready to compromise on certain things. But there are certain fundamental things that you know that these are deal breakers. For instance, the issue of land is not something that you can compromise on. But we'll go and engage, open-minded kind of an engagement, and then we'll take it from there. We want to work with the ANC. If there's any party that we can work with and work properly. is the ANC. Because ANC, when compromised, is not arrogant. And ANC, when it doesn't have absolute majority, and it happens that you share power with them, they never recover from losing power. So if we're to go to election again in the next 2 years, the ANC is sitting at 40% now. For sure they're going to come back with 15%. Because after losing elections, they don't do any effort, nothing, to change some attitude. So once they say the ANC has lost what, you must know they're going to lose forever. So don't worry. That's why we prefer them, because they will never grow. We did a self-reflection, and we did very well as the EFF. We did what a well-established political party does, and including those buses, those people that were expelled for not bringing buses, we have no regret at all. They did not impact us anyway. I just said in the statement now, when we're running elections, you find that there are people who are not playing a role in the elections, but they are on the list. So there is a principle, a guideline that was issued during elections when we're constituting election teams and converting our structures into election teams, that everybody must go perform where they are assigned. And then some decided not to do their work. And because they were disturbing the work of the elections, we said, just go home, we'll see you after these elections. So we're going to see them to tell them to decline their seats in Parliament. Because you can't sit at home and then go and dance at the rants in Cape Town rants when people are fighting to put up a rally and all of that. You have no role to play. You sit at home, straight from rants. You go to Parliament. It will never happen that way. Never. It's not going to happen. Look, we are going to negotiate with the ANC the same way we did in 2016. We were stronger in 2016. I mean, we were in 2016. We were almost the same numbers. If I'm not wrong, those numbers changed in 2019 to be what they were, 1.888 something. So that was not the number that we went to the negotiations with the ANC with. We went to the ANC with the number that we have now. The same number we have now, that's the number we took when we went to have the elections with the ANC. So this is what happened. So we were doing very well. After 2019, we did well in 2019, and we did well in 2021. And then we had a slight decline now. Why? The people who were supporting President Zuma after 2019, I mean, when President Zuma was removed, they had no any other home because they didn't want Cyril. So they ended up coming to us. Not coming in the form of taking membership. But when it came to voting, they said, well, amongst other these parties, the closest to what we want is the EFF. And then they went to vote for the EFF. That's why if you look at the number of the EFF, which shocked us, and it's now being explained by this. In 2019, we were just sitting and then we get 350,000 votes. We're like, It was Natal. Which ones from where now? What happened?
What did we do? We're shocked by receiving numbers. We've even told you this. We repeated it in public platform. We don't know where those numbers came from. Now there is an explanation. Those people were never ours. They were President Zuma's people. So it's good they found their home. They must relax in their home. There is absolutely no problem. We're fine. This is us. We're complete now. There's no borrowed vote.
That's what explains CD. There's nothing that you can say the EFF didn't do and all of that. Hey, maybe that's why they did not get people. We got our people, and people who had borrowed us our vote, their vote, found a new political home, and then they went there. Remember, they didn't want Ramaphosa. In the ANC, they lost. Then, when they went to the polls in the country, they didn't vote for him. They voted for the EFF. And then, when they went to arrest the old man, then it was a mess. A discussion which I had with President Ramaphosa. But you can't do what you're doing. You are going to make him a hero. Because it's not explainable what you want to arrest him for. So, and July unrest should have told us that the man has got some support somewhere. And start treating him with care. But even after taking him out of jail, they still go on to harass him and all. None of them have gone to him to apologize. So, but we are happy. We're the happiest because we have achieved our mission in our lifetime. And that mission was to bring the ANC below 50%. That's what we have always told you, that this animal is going to be eaten piece by piece. So, Reina, we were holding on this other piece, preparing to go to the other piece of the animal. Hey, Zuma arrived and took that piece. We're eating piece by piece, and then Zuma went to take the piece we're going to. But we don't complain. We want to humble the ANC. The ANC is very humble. All of you can go on social media. All of them have disappeared. They have nothing to say. Slave Queen is on her. Some of Gauteng, Chelete never for the Slave Queen. Bafa Cheleta's Chaba, by for the Slave Queen. No more money for Slave Queens. It's done. We've taken the pest. The pest is gone. You can go and look at the ANC in Swan. Go and look at the ANC in Ikurule. Go and look at the ANC in Joburg. They are dysfunctional. They have no direction because they lost power during local government. That disarray, you are going to see it at a provincial level. Thanks to the EFF. We started this job and we are continuing with it. Someone was asking me if I'm going to resign because we performed bad. I won't do that. It's not a penny. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. I'm in charge. I'm in charge. That must be very clear. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere in terms of politics. I'm not going anywhere in terms of health. I'm not going anywhere in terms of age. Ours is a generational mission. It's not a popcorn that will just pop and disappear. It's going to stay. We have a staying power. And in Parliament, we're going to lose, if we lose seats, 2-3 seats. And we used to razzmatazz that Parliament. Before we were 44, we were how many? 25. We are razzmatazing it, 25 of us. So even if you take 3 seats, we're not going back to 25. We're still where we're not during that time of 25. So we are not a declining party. The footprint of the EFF is now confirmed that it exists in every municipality in South Africa. It gets its votes in every corner. It gets its vote now, TD, even in the suburbs. If you can go and look at the map of Joburg, you will see the VDs that EFF was taking in Midrand, in Centurion, in Randburg, and very interesting development. That we even beat DA in one of their stronghold. So the black middle class has found home in the EFF. They love the EFF. They vote for it, and they do so unashamedly. Proper progressive black middle class that is not money driven, that doesn't want to benefit from Rothschild, Rupert, Oppenheimer, Richard Branson of Virgin, what. Only blacks who don't benefit from that, the black elite, believes in the EFF, black middle class. So I can tell you now, go and check the votes of EFF in the areas where there are black people. You are going to find votes of the EFF. So, and then an organization like that you say is dying. It's not dying. In any election, there will always be dynamics. And the dynamic now is, there was an emergence of this party. Now we know it. I mean, what President Zuma did to us is what Mashaba did to us in Johannesburg. And then once we became aware, or there is a problem called Mashaba, we went to solve that problem, Shem. It's done. We finished it. You can go around and ask. For sure, he's checking quotations of hair products now. He's going back to hair. Don't have time. We came here making noise. We reminded him many times, now you behave like you are something. And then the country showed him that is nothing. And the rest of those other people went to eat people's monies. They received so many millions, so many. They can only brag about one seat and all of that. The biggest loser in this election is the ANC. And we must never try to be clever and shift that to the EFF and want to project the EFF as if it has lost a province or it has lost a country. People lose a country, people lose a province. You want to say the EFF has lost. What? We have won. And Elgas Tokomen, the Tori Keria, Religamodi officing, Jabu Ministara. Jamushu. I'm now this time on Ariat and Hashem. I will Ardo Emela. I Ardo Emela. Little negotiation, Janet Juria di Quamara. Yautena Rate. Ardo Emela or Ring it Hagagai. Water. Urai, but Banaba Baringi, Abavutili, ANC, Abanya Gains, Zama, Barensi, Ibafi, Ibafi. Zama manskralo chegarba vutejima bajile meitsi ya bola batho ba bona ba tlhokofala. Go and check when out to it you are principle beyond principle. Listen is na gatar ga bonchana ANC is na go thelege erga bonchana lo mongwe. Because we have to sustain this organization. We accept the result, but it doesn't mean when there's a discrepancy there, you can't raise it. To raise a discrepancy does not mean you are rejecting the results, because that discrepancy may not have material effect. Even if you succeed, it will just give you are added 1,000, you are added 2,000, but it's to teach the IEC also a lesson and principle. and expose these shenanigans, that there are people who are swapping results from result slip and captured. So it's a principle we need to pursue. But when we looked at those discrepancies, that they are of no material effect. And therefore, you can't say on the basis of that, you reject the result. We accept the result, we accept the defeat, we are unable to congratulate anyone for being elected president. Because there's no president now. Yeah. There's no one. Even the one who's the current now, he doesn't know if he's going to be president tomorrow. Yeah. Nagito voter Limpopo, I just came back now. Wait, Unyaga urubiye ugazibiye ugagara usi president. Yeah, ubulela ukhwathi shikano. Must not talk after talking. What are you saying? Be clear. Uthini baba khuluma. Want to hear what are they saying? And we are not going to call them. We don't call anyone. They will call us if they want us. And if they want us, we are here. We are not going to disappear. Let's talk. And out of those talks, the people of South Africa are going to benefit. We thank the Razzmatazz in all the universities. There's no single university that we lost. The young intelligentsia is the one that is able to read and internalize the 240-something election manifesto. So, and we are going to do bashes for them. We are going to celebrate those victories in all those institutions where we won. We have told the Youth and Student Mobilization Committee, go back to thank those young people who stood on the queues and voted for the EFF. We must remain in close contact with our voters. Thank you.
No, thank you very much.
There was a story of government of national unity. Mandela. We don't do government of national unity. We don't want it. So we want coalition. We don't want government of national unity. We will end up with wrong people.
Thanks, Commander-in-Chief. We'll take the last round of hands. And you must forever hold your peace if you don't raise your hand now. There are no follow-ups after this. There are many other businesses, as you have heard, that the leadership must be engaged in. So I'm going to start from the back there, the gentleman there. You are number 1. My sister, you are number 2. You are number 3. Is there any other? Number 4, 5, 6. Okay, I can't see you. 7. No, 6 is 6. I counted it. Another one? Okay, 7. Yeah, we see you. We're closing at 7. No, okay, that's fine. Number 1 back there. Can we start? Sir, you can ask your question.
Faraz Patel from Hilal TV. Mr. Malema, I want to ask about the ICC arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu and UF Gallant. What is your take on that, and how much of a litmus test this is going to be for international law? And added to that, obviously the EFF brought the motion to remove the Israeli embassy from South Africa. If the EFF is in a stronger position now to get it removed, what happens then? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sound guys, please give us a proper sound. Number 2.
Good afternoon, everyone. Zoleka Kotashe from the SABC. Mr. Malema, I want to know, you make the comparison between Action SA and MK as being the new kids on the block, right? I want to know, though, will you deploy or employ the same method that you used with Action SA, or would you be willing to work with the MK party, and to what extent? And if that is the case, and then we do see a relationship forming between the MK party and the EFF and potentially the ANC, would a precondition be that the president of the ANC step aside for that relationship to take place if the ANC does not act against him? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We go to number 3.
Good day. My name is Lisa Gatandwa. I'm from the Sunday Times. Mr. Malema, some have said that how you narrated your view on open borders might have hurt you in these elections, in that you were seen to be a bit antagonistic in your messaging. Have you reflected on that? And as well as when you say that you are going to ministries, are you still intent on having Mr. Floyd Chivambu as the finance minister? And my third and last question, well, it isn't, it was Steve's question around whether your negotiations, will they encompass the entirety of the country, or will you focus purely on national? Thank you.
Thank you very much. My sister there, they skipped you, Lisa.
Thank you. My name is Deborah Monyeki from Love World Set. Mr. Malema...
Sorry. Okay. Lisa, can you please repeat your question, but make it point at the last one?
Just in terms of negotiations, obviously with MK dominating in KZN, it kind of limits the conversation with the ANC in that province. So what kind of negotiations will you go into the ANC with?
Okay. My sister?
Thank you. My name is Deborah Monyeki from Love World Set. Mr. Malema, at the World Health Assembly last week on the 28th of May, the member states of World Health Organization reiterated that the world needs a pandemic agreement built on the principles of equity, sovereignty, and prevention to ensure that future generations are safeguarded from the threat of inevitable future pandemics. Are we going to see EFF lobbying other political parties in Parliament for South Africa to support the pandemic treaty? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll go to number 5. Okay, thank you.
Good day, Mr. Malema. It's Ndando from Bloomberg News. Just wondering if you have started thinking about presidential candidates in whatever coalition formation you end up with. What would some of the criteria be to elect a presidential candidate?
Thank you. We'll go to the next hand. Yeah.
Sorry, Jadwin from Salam Media. The first question is, does the EFF believe that the timeline stipulated for the formation of a coalition government is sufficient, given the current political climate? And then my second question has obviously been covered in that regard.
I thought I was the only one. Can you please use a much stronger voice than you're using now?
Right, the second question then, of course, having been covered is...
No, we still can't hear you.
The second question being as...
Okay, read it, say it again.
All right, so starting from scratch, does the EFF believe that the timeline stipulated for the formation of a coalition government is sufficient, given the current political climate? And secondly, does it matter to the EFF who is at the helm of the ANC when you enter into negotiations?
Okay. You can go. Please try to utilize the mic there.
Mr. Malema, this is Christian from Netwerk Virentona speaking. My question is, do you rule out coalition talks with any specific parties, and what are those parties? And seeing that the EFF and the ANC will not have enough seats to, on their own, have a coalition, what other parties, could there be a possibility that a third party would be involved, and which party would you prefer? Thank you.
Thank you. Brother there.
Good day, Mr. Malem. My name is Saeed. I'm from Phoenix TV. So my question is, given the experience from the municipalities, the idea of coalition, what lessons can be learned from this experience when it comes to the national government?
Okay, thank you. The last hand.
Please switch it on.
News Central TV. I just want to ask, there are some that are saying EFF lost because of your stance about foreigners. Do you still stand by that even after your votes have decreased?
Okay, thank you very much, colleagues. That was the last round of hands. Commander-in-Chief, President.
Thank you very much. The EFF welcomes the arrest of Netanyahu, and part of the engagements in the coalition agreements will be the implementation of the resolution of the previous parliament, which said Israeli embassy must leave South Africa. So we are still going to emphasize that. Action SA made it very clear that they are the enemy of the EFF. And the Action SA did not have a manifesto. Their manifesto was EFF. Everywhere Herman went was tweeting about EFF. EFF this, EFF that. Look at him now. He didn't concentrate on his organization. He's concentrating on other people's organizations. So we don't care about Action SA. MK, we are relatives. We are together. If they had to do saying they don't want to work with the ANC, there's no problem. But now we'll work with them. We'll work with the ANC and work with them also. There's no problem. We are not far from each other. We are one thing with MK, so there's absolutely no crisis. I get it if MK doesn't want to work with the ANC national, and then we work with the ANC national. There's nothing stopping us to work with MK in KwaZulu-Natal, and also in Gauteng. So Mpumalanga as well. So there is no problem. There is no animosity between MK and the EFF. So that's what you guys, throughout this campaign, you were trying by all means to try and create a division, and we refused to fall into that. Floyd will be a minister of finance if they agree, these people, because he's the most qualified in all respect. None of the people they've put there have got the understanding of that institution better than Floyd. We're putting a best candidate forward. Pandemic treaty, we agree with that. We'll support that. Border, open border, we're supporting foreigners and all of that. Okay, if this issue is the one that has costed elections for the EFF, why didn't this issue give Mashaba votes? It's not true what you are saying. Rena problem ya rena. MK. MK took our votes which it borrowed to us in 2019. There's no any other explanation other than that. If this issue was a concerning issue in South Africa, Gayton Mackenzie, Mabahambe with 2 seats, Mabahambe. They didn't help anyone with anything. You are not going to be made to compromise a principle to please non-existing voters. Our voters understand our message very well. Our open border policy is, we want Africa that is one. But you cannot do that before you develop the other economies of Africa. And you develop the economies of other African continents through making it easy for goods and services to move around the continent and individuals to move around the continent so that we help develop the continent. These people don't want to come here for the sake of coming here. They want jobs, they want greener pastures. We are a big country, we've got a huge capacity. We can develop their countries and benefit out of that in a huge way. And it's not something that you get elected today. Tomorrow you'll be carrying gates around you in a bag. We have removed these gates. Come. No. Doesn't work like that. You guys are just vulgarizing the whole point. People, 40-something thousand people, 41% of those voters voted for the ANC, which is the one that brought these people here. These people are here already, undocumented. They were brought by the ANC. Why are 41% voting for the ANC still? Because if you hate these foreigners so much, you must hate even a party that has made it possible for these foreigners to enter South Africa. Who has benefited from these xenophobic attacks in these elections? No one. Operation Dodola was contesting elections. They are not going to get anything. Back to the village where they come from. Don't have time. Bad time to vote to South Africa. That lala. Bad. So we are refusing. We are refusing to switch off oxygen machines. And if you comrades are saying that thing is the one that is costing us vote, let it continue costing us vote. We are refusing to switch off machines. We are refusing to deny children, African children, to study in our schools because we are told they are from a certain country. But they are Africans. Our interest is to educate Africans. We cannot allow that. If this issue is going to make us remain the 5 of us, 6 of us, so be it. We're not going to retreat on a lie, on a scaremongering. The issue when we started in 2014 and 2019, it was land. They were saying, EFF is going to take your land. They even did a program to give people a title deeds. We're giving you title deeds. EFF doesn't want you to have title deeds. Now they realize the issue of the land is not working. They go find something there, which is non-existent. It's a lie. If you doubt me, go and talk to Mashaba. He will tell you how big a lie is this thing of being xenophobic. And then you think you are going to get votes. No. We don't want votes of tribalists, by the way. We don't want votes of racists. We don't want votes of people who thrive on the division of the working class. We don't want regionalistic politics. That's why we are national in character. And we reject regionalistic politics. We reject tribalism. Because tribalism is equal to racism. Once we start engaging in tribalistic politics as a country, you must be rest assured we're inviting a disaster in this country. Because the worst thing with tribalism is that it will lead to a situation where people fight in the same country. It will lead to a civil war. Tribalism goes straight to civil war. That's why we don't subscribe to those things. Someone was saying, why are the Limpopo people not voting for Malema in Limpopo? The Limpopo people are voting for the EFF. I don't want to be voted by the people of Limpopo on the basis of me coming from Limpopo. I don't want that. The EFF is not from Limpopo. It's Julius Malema who's from Limpopo, not EFF. So don't want to locate our organization into some province. We are a national organization. That's why we fight battles in every corner of South Africa, and we're going to continue doing that. Whether we are in government or not, we're going to fight for our people. We're not going to behave here like people who are riding on a high horse and then abandon the character of fighting for our people. We will continue to fight for our people. And what gives us courage is the young vote from the universities. It means we are growing with a generation. The old will die, the new will emerge. So, I used to say Ramaphosa is a big problem and all of that. Now, that issue is not my problem. It's not my problem. Or Ramaphosa, okay, president, or I say president, that's not my president. It's the president of those things. So don't involve me in the... We are going to bring our list. People are going to bring their list. And then we put together. Yes. So, if we didn't want Ramaphosa, why didn't you vote him out? And stop asking us to do things that you didn't do. You had an opportunity to vote Ramaphosa out, you didn't do it. You know Malema will do it. Do it yourself. The ANC has got all the right to remove Ramaphosa if they want. We're not getting involved there. We don't want. Ramaphosa is not our preferred cup of tea. It's not our preferred. But he can't be a deal breaker. We don't prefer him. We know that he was a collaborator. We know that he's got billions, but he doesn't produce anything. He's not in manufacturing. He's not in agriculture. How do you become a billionaire like that? You do that by selling out your own people. So we can say a lot about Ramaphosa, but he's not an EFF president. So we choose EFF leaders. Even who's going to parliament, to cabinet, it will be us who choose from the EFF side, and then they will choose from their side. They can bring a person you hate so much. You have not won elections. Win elections and appoint the people you love. So there's nothing you can do. We are here. That's where we are. So, you know, the good thing with the EFF is that we speak to everyone, including those small boys of the DA with their grandmother, Helen. We can talk to all of them. Those racists, we have no problem. But we talk to them out of principle. We are not going to find each other. Shame. We are not going to find each other. We just talk because we are talking. But there's nothing we're going to really find from those people. How do you have an opposition declaring an opposition and then leaving the ruling party to concentrate on the opposition? And all of them, they get formed and then they concentrate on the opposition. Even the new ones, you can see they are bought by Oppenheimer to go and chase the EFF. They wanted to finish this EFF in these elections. The Oppenheimers took millions and millions of money. Barry, hey, we don't want this kind of an arrangement. This EFF is a big problem. They went out to finish the EFF. Look at us now. Oppenheimer. We're here. We're a problem for another 5 years. They have to deal with that. They have to deal with that. Let that parliament must know. The new speaker, don't be a crook. If you become a crook, you will find us ready for you. So, we are in a very good mood, looking forward to go to Cape Town. We must go clean up our boots and our overalls. Sangen, Pesgwa. Lessons from coalitions. The only thing you must do in a coalition is to be humble and don't lie. The ANC lies a lot. That's their problem, and that's what is going to be part of the discussions with them. They lie a lot. They say this and then say something else. Say this and say something else. that there is a mayor there, Eni Gurlen, who went to take the powers of the MMC of Finance, because MMC of Finance is our MMC. He must return those powers. He must return those powers. Otherwise, we are putting a motion of no confidence against him. Of the ANC. He must return the powers. We agreed when we were talking that there's no one who's going to move alone without engaging other partners. He goes to give a speech and then he announces he removes certain powers from the MMC of Finance. He must know elections are over. We are now on him. And that is going to be part of what we are going to discuss with his leadership. Vulamlo. What is Vulamlo? Return the powers. To show sign of being honorable. Return the powers of the MMC. So that's Vulamlo. So learn to be humble. Learn to know you have not won elections. And then always navigate through. Take each other into confidence. Do not seek to outshine others and convert them as if they are just your puppets and voting cattle, like they're trying to do in Johannesburg municipality. We are not going to allow that. Elections are over now. We are going to govern where we are governing. We are going to govern properly. And we are not going to allow the ANC corruption. One of the positions we are going to demand from the ANC is a speaker. The Speaker of Parliament. Because we can't go into a coalition with the ANC and not have a speaker. The ANC is running the executive. We have to run the speaker so we monitor them and we make them accountable. So the Speaker of Parliament might be sitting in front. So we really want to thank everybody. Thank you, media, those who covered us positively, those who covered us negatively. We understand it's brown envelopes, they work like that. They make you say the things that you don't believe in. We defeated News 24 as well, because it was in cahoots with our enemies. And then we defeated Daily Maverick, and we defeated Oppenheimer, Rupert, the Minel family. We defeated ENCA. When MK was overtaking, the first overtaking of MK by the leaderboard there, I was in a house where they were watching ENCA. Yes, sir. Those ENCA people were celebrating like the EFF has lost elections. So you can see that these people, they don't love us. They do everything in their power to get rid of us. We are not going anywhere. It's corner. And we are in all legislatures, by the way, comfortably. Too much. We are in this thing for a very long time. Ours is a generational mission. Ours is a generational mission. There is no one on this table who is 60 years old on this table. So we are here for many years to come. If President Zuma can do it at 82, just not even 50 on this table. So if President Zuma can do it at 82, it means you are going to wait for me until I turn 82. Because I will be here. If President Zuma can hold it until then, CD, I'm not going anywhere. I'm with you. Thank you very much, colleagues. Thank you.